KwaZulu-Natal bulk potable water provider Umgeni Water is currently reporting back on the progress of repairs to two flood-damaged aqueducts at the Durban Heights water treatment plant. Infrastructure at the plant suffered significant damage during April's floods. This has forced the eThekwini Municipality to implement water rationing for at least 12 months. Let's take you live to the briefing.
Provided 547 megalitres to eThekwini. And the question is why this information is important. I'll come to it when I talk about the shaft pumps and when I talk about aqueduct 3 and 4. Let me get back to reservoir 3. Reservoir 3 is in Durban Heights. Its capacity is 340 megalitres. What good news do we have today? The good news is we have appointed a contractor to ensure that we fix and the res 3. Res 3 was not part of the floods damage. I think it's important to highlight that. Res 3 we had awarded work to a contractor in November, and the work that it was given to the contractor was for the lining of Res 3. And I would like to take a minute explaining the repairs that have been done to Res 3. Res 3 is a reservoir and its capacity is 340 megalitres. Last year we had reported that we are refurbishing, and in the refurbishing process we had to deal with the inner lining of the reservoir on top, and that inner lining has been done. We also spoke about the top of the reservoir. That was done. What was left now was the lining at the bottom. Now for us to fill up the reservoir, we needed to line the bottom. But the reason we couldn't do it was because we had a court challenge, of which has been successfully resolved. Hence, we have gone on and appointed a contractor. The contractor is in the room today, and they have been given an appointment letter. They will be signing a contract today. What does it mean to say Res 3 is back on board? It means we have gone to court, and we had indicated to court that we have an emergency, and we believe that the court must find it in its way of doing things, and court must ensure that they treat us as an urgent matter, so that then we are able to resolve the matter. That was done, and today we have a contractor in place, and we have communicated with the contractor in terms of time frames. And what we've been informed is that the lining, the internal lining for Reservoir 3 is something that is imported. And we do have an estimate, but if you can assist in ensuring that when we share to the people, we indicate that the estimate that we have is not the final estimate. We are looking at an estimate of 1 month in terms of ordering the material. Now, as we all know, anything that is shipped 1 month can easily be 2 months. So if you can assist us in communicating to eThekwini stakeholders that we do intend to work as fast as we can, but the process itself of ordering material is supposed to be 1 month, and we hope it's going to be 1 month. But should it delay, it can delay to up to 2 months. The work itself should be 4 months. And we have a commitment from the contractor that once the material is on site, they will ensure that then they get to work. What does this mean in the consumer term? It means we are going to have 2 systems that are coming back on board. This is Aqueduct 1 coming back in December, and we also have Reservoir 3 at 340 megalitres coming back in December. So that is the good news that we're sharing, and we are even more confident that now, come December, the situation will be back to normal. And the other question is, what else have we done in terms of ensuring that the supply? I have spoken about the pumps. The last time we met, we had spoken about the possible commissioning of pump 4. Now we have commissioned the 4th pump, and after commissioning the 4th pump, we realized that now we were able to meet the required megalitres that need to be supplied in eThekwini. So that was commissioned. The figures that I have with me, on the 17th of June, we were able to provide 540 megalitres. And we continued supplying water, but what we then realized was that the pump that is now pump 4 can only be run for 5 days because of safety concerns. So I would like to communicate that although we are pumping from pump 4, we are meeting the requirements. Out of 7 days in a week, we pump for 5 days, and the 2 days we give it to the pump to ensure that the pump gets to rest. So now why are we doing that? We are doing that to ensure that the system is running efficiently, to ensure that we cover safety concerns. So it will be responsible for Umgeni then to communicate that although we do meet requirements of 540 megalitres, we do not meet the requirements every day. I think that's a story we want to say, so that we have made a plan. But when we came here for the previous press briefing, we were not at 540. But now we're coming to yourselves to say now we are at 540, but it's not happening every day, and it will be irresponsible for the organization to then pump for 7 days, because we could compromise the quality of the pump and we could compromise the quality of the system. I would say it's good news, because from the reports that I'm reading in the ones I've circulated, we can then see then there is an improvement from where we were previously. We are providing better water capacity compared to where we were the last time. And we'll continue pumping for only 5 days a week up until we get to December. We don't foresee a situation where we'll start pumping for 7 days. And we would like to apologize to the customers of eThekwini to say the 2 days is not doable. We do understand that from any person sitting at home is desirable to have water every day, but unfortunately we can push the system up to 5 days. And it's a message we humbly request yourselves to communicate on our behalf to everybody, so that then it's transparent, it's truthful, and it enables people to be able to plan. We are quite aware that eThekwini has made plans to ensure that there is rationing of water, and we are in supportive of what eThekwini is doing. We do have meetings, they happen on a daily basis, that ensures that the stakeholders are informed, and ensures that ourselves and eThekwini are working together. So now, maybe to summarize where we are in terms of aqueducts, before I move to Tongat, aqueduct 1 will be back on the 22nd of December 2022. Aqueduct 2 will be back in June 2023. Reservoir 3, we've appointed a contractor. They are with us today. And for material to be ordered, we estimate 1 month. But because of challenges we anticipate with shipping, it could go as up as 2 months, just waiting for material to be sent to where we are today. And the contractor is estimated 4 months. I do apologize for using the word estimate. The contract is actually, the award was happened yesterday, and the contract is signed today. And as we all know, with the contract, we have what is called your normal inception reports and your commitments. So I'm estimating because that's what we have in terms of the award. So now it means 2 months for material is the maximum, but we hope it becomes a month. And 4 months for the actual repair, and the repair will be done on site. Once that is done, it's going to give us 340 megalitres. We're going back to pump 4. Pump 4 is back. We are pumping from pump 4. We are getting 50 megalitres from each pump, and we're pumping for only 5 days instead of 7 days a week because of safety concerns. But when we pump, we do meet the requirements of 540 megalitres that we are contracted with in terms of our contract with eThekwini, and that's very exciting. I mean, that is this amazing news. So that's where we are in terms of that. And before I leave on maybe the talk about aqueducts, we have an agreement that from time to time, when we are required to do a shutdown in order to connect the pipes, then we will communicate. We don't have news about a shutdown today, but we would like to promise that as soon as we have the news, then we'll communicate. Why do we need shutdowns? As we are working with a system. When we are disconnecting the system, sometimes it requires that we shut down and disconnect. When we are also connecting pipes back to the system, then we must shut down and connect. When we are then ensuring we are fixing filters, then that needs to happen. I would like to say it now so that then if we as Umgeni communicate a shutdown, people then must remember that in order for us to move from one system to another, we might need to close the system, ensure there's no water coming out for operational reasons. So when that happens, it will be communicated by ourselves and eThekwini, and when we do it, we will do it for enhancements or for creating a situation where we have additional water supply. So once that happens, we communicate and we promise that we'll do it timelessly. But I would like the customers at home to anticipate that such a process will happen when we get to connectivity. We'll try and have minimum disruptions, but I think we will ensure that we communicate. Now moving to Tongat. Now on Tongat, Tongat is a plant that is managed by eThekwini, and as Umgeni and eThekwini, we sit on a daily basis. And our discussions are not about what Umgeni is doing. Our discussions are about water in general. So when eThekwini is affected in Tongat, we also affected as Umgeni. Even if we're not running the plant, we become affected. We have looked at options of how best to deal with the situation together, ourselves and eThekwini. And we've looked at a few options. And I'm saying this because when sometimes no movement is seen on a human level, it's quick to understand that maybe nothing is being done. We have looked at how possible it is to maybe create further systems, further connections, bypass. We've looked at all of that. We have been approached by eThekwini to look at a few options that they have. They actually provided us diagrams to say, have a look at this, see if it's going to work. And we're working together. As we work together, we're eliminating solutions. So it's important then to put on record that we have been having solutions, but the solutions must be viable. The solutions must work for the community. And as they begin not to work, then we then are able to communicate and say, we've tried this solution, we've tried bypass, at a certain area is not working. We have the diagram is creating risk. So that's what we're doing behind the scenes. And the inability to communicate a solution is based on the fact that we ourselves have not found the right maybe a solution that will be suitable for Tongat. Even if we are not responsible, we are working together as a team. But as Umgeni, we're continuing to support the municipality in terms of human resources. It could be scientists, it could be engineers, and also in the turnaround time. If the eThekwini has a solution that they think it might work, if our input is required, we are trying to fast track our input. So where we are now is that then eThekwini is the rightful institution to respond on Tongat, but as Umgeni, we remain supportive of the solutions that come from eThekwini. And we have looked at quite a few, and unfortunately, I'm not in a position to indicate that we've had a level of success in terms of the solutions that we have so far. But I do believe that eThekwini is working with speed, and I've seen with my own eyes the kind of work that has gone into finding solutions for Tongat. So we remain committed to assist eThekwini, and we move in that space. And as I conclude, and I think it goes beyond asking, and that we have gone and looked at all possible solutions. I mean, by now, many people who didn't know there was a shaft in Umgeni, they now know. People who didn't know there was an aqueduct, now they know. People who didn't know there was a reservoir, now we know. We're breaking it down into detail because we hope that people at home then will get an understanding of maybe the complexity of the system, will get an understanding also in the isolatedness of the system, that we don't just deal with one pipe. We're dealing with shafts, we're dealing with reservoirs, we're dealing with quite a few things. But we have succeeded in ensuring that, coming from where we were last time, we were at 510 when we met, and now we have demonstrated that we are sitting on 540, even if we do it for 5 days in a week, but that's where we are. We've also appointed contractors. From here, we'll be leaving to Aqueduct 1 to do our normal oversight, see that work is indeed happening, see how far they've gone. And also from here, we'll be going to Res 3, which is a few meters away, to see what the supplier will be doing or will needs to start doing. And also we're going to go to the pump, which is pump 4, to actually look at the pump, to see how things are, to talk to the people actually manning the pump. And this, we're not only doing it today, we're going to do it on a regular basis until the system is fully restored. We as a board are very committed on ensuring that each and every system, we don't just sit and get the reports. We're going to leave from now and we're going to check from system to system. And if there are any further updates, we'll ensure that we provide them to yourselves. But I thank everyone, and that's the update that we have for now, that we have managed to reach 540 megalitres with conditions that I've indicated. And we are at work, and hope to see you shortly with better news, but the date is the 22nd of December, just before Christmas. So those that are planning for Christmas festivities, they can continue. We will ensure that we meet the deadline. There will be a better Christmas this year. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson of the Board. The information provided by the Chairperson does illustrate that there's been good progress made since we last had a briefing. We've come a long way since then, and progress is still happening. And the date of the 22nd of December is when Aqueduct 1 is expected to be completed. All right, the Chairperson's mentioned earlier about the public at large becoming familiar with infrastructure. You know, if there's anything at all that this floods have done, it created an awareness of infrastructure that is so essential for the provision of water. People now know, they understand and know what aqueducts are. They know what purpose they serve. And they know what purpose the shaft pumps serve as well, which is good. I mean, it's good for public understanding and public knowledge. So when the public gets to understand these things, they form an opinion from an informed basis. And I would say the media has been largely instrumental in creating this awareness and in assisting organizations like Umgeni Water to get the public to better understand what Umgeni Water does and the essential nature of its business together with the infrastructure it manages and operates. Okay, so we are now at the stage where the floor is open for any questions that you may have, and I would imagine there are lots of questions, and you may even have some comments or some suggestions as to how things can be done in order to speed up the process. Okay. Mr. Tati. Sorry, identify yourself and then, thanks.
I'm Jason Thal here from DNCA. So I think the first question, I think maybe the chair would be best placed to answer. It would be on Reservoir 3. So I just want to get an understanding of when we would be seeing the true value in it coming back online, being that it's a storage facility. And will we only be getting that value when the aqueducts are fully repaired, or will we start to see it now in terms of providing that value to the end user, to the consumer? The second is around planning for disasters. So we know that this flood, as we've often said, has taken us by surprise and it caused damage that we didn't expect. So the first part of that question is, what kind of planning up until this point was there for such a situation where the infrastructure is destroyed to that extent? And secondly, if there was any lack or failure of that, what lessons have been drawn from this? Because we now know that it is a very real possibility that these aqueducts, for example, can be taken out, or other pipelines can be removed in the process. There's also this, I don't know, I think I would say that there's no love lost between eThekwini and Umgeni Water. I've been to several public interactions where eThekwini has almost very indirectly said, look, it's not our issue, it's an Umgeni Water problem, and we keep hearing back and forth. But ultimately, to the end user, they don't really care about that. They just want water. So how is that kind of relationship, or that process, being managed to a point where it doesn't become a finger-pointing exercise? Because that's what it sometimes comes across as to us. And the last part is around the wastage. I remember previously when the Water and Sanitation Minister was here, he was saying that there's still a large percentage of water that is being wasted in eThekwini. Considering that we're now in a position where we have a shortage of water, where are we on that front of trying to conserve the water that we are losing, and whose responsibility is that ultimately? Is it eThekwini or yours? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shemi. I'm not sure if I'm going to take more. I can answer this.
In fact, I would suggest the answer now, because there's quite a few. I think there's about 4 issues altogether.
Sure. Yes, thank you so much. The first question on RES 3 was my first question as well when I got here. And I went to RES 3 again just to recap on where we are. RES 3 does take 340 megaliters. And the question is, where are we? So I'll just go back and say on RES 3, the refurbishment, we had done the inner lining. Now I'll get to the question. We did the inner lining, we did the outer lining, we're now doing the floor. And once the water is back, the question is, are we going to see a relief? The direct answer is yes, we're going to see the relief. Because the pumps, our aqueducts are not running at full capacity because of the reasons we've stated before. So once this RES 3 is back, there will be I did ask how many days, and I was told that the process is we must ensure that we fill up RES 3 to a reasonable capacity, and then we need to do water quality testing. Then that normally takes 2 or 3 days, and then if the water quality is good to go, then we fill up the reservoir. If the water quality is not up to desirable standards, we treat or take it out and then move. So that's the process. So once we have RES 3 on board, we're talking matter of days before there's an impact on the system. So I think that will go to question number 1. It will take days. And number 2, was there planning and maybe lessons learned? Yes, there was planning. If you talk RES 3, 140 megaliters, and the reason we took it out of the system was because it was the first big refurbishment since we had RES 3. So we took it out, and it was a very simple process. Do the outer lining, do the inner lining, and then finish. And then there was a disruption just before we got to the final lining. So that was part of the preparations, because if we look at the capacity of the system, we planned for just under 900 megaliters for the system. So that then, should there be a disruption in the system, we are able to shut down one system and move to the next system. The unthinkable happened. Nobody could foresee that whilst we are refurbishing RES 3, there could be a problem of a pump in Durban Heights, which we resolved successfully. Right after resolving the problem, then we get to a natural disaster. It was unthinkable, but where I'm confident is that out of all the disruptions we've had, we were talking about 30 megaliters. So I put my head off for the guys to say the level of planning was so detailed that in any other organization where there was no proper planning, this could have gone down to 0. We were only missing just a small percentage in terms of megaliters. So that goes to good planning. So now as we're fixing our systems, we're going back to just under 900 just to provide 540 megaliters. That's what we have in place. We have a buffer in place so that if one system fails or is being maintained, the other systems are running. So the answer is yes, we had great planning, and we did have, and we've learned from the system, and we appreciate that we separated systems, but now we have learned, and even now we are learning. We've never had to run a 4th pump, and as we are running it, we are learning. So we've learned quite a lot, and we are incorporating all our learnings into our our lessons learned document so that we move forward. But I'm happy about what we were able to achieve, and I think we've got great plans in place. We are able to rise to the occasion. On that point, and Umgeni and eThekwini, and it's true that we have a relationship with eThekwini, and it's true that at some point we were unable to meet our contractual obligations, even if it was about one bucket. So I wouldn't call, we don't feel it as finger pointing, because if there's one bucket missing, someone out there is missing a bucket. So they are taking myself as a consumer and as a customer of eThekwini. Any one bucket that is not provided, it affects our stakeholder. So we are with them, and it's rightfully so that when they are affected, the customers are affected. So we feel it as well. So we don't see it in the fashion you see it, because for us, any bucket means something. Even if you can stand here and saying it's only 30 megaliters, it's people, it's households, and as we say, water is life. So we are on the side of eThekwini in terms of the impact. Even if it was a natural disaster, it's not about us, it's not about eThekwini. There's somebody at home who doesn't have water. So in terms of that, we are one, we are together, and when there's something that is not happening on our side, whether it's a natural disaster or not, we take responsibility. So we support eThekwini, and we are with them, because as people are crying, we all cry. So they are right in always updating people if there's a fault on our side, whether it's intentional or not, but we always want to take responsibility. Now, on the wastage unaccounted for water, we've been maybe fortunate somehow that some of the leaks, we discovered further leaks, whether it was due to natural disaster or not natural disaster. Somehow, the fixing of our process, we're enabled to fix some of the leaks. I'll make an example of Ulembe, where we then discovered new leaks we're able to fix. But we have, I wouldn't run away to say from saying we had some disruptions in our process. An ideal process would be to have a free a maintenance system that is outside emergency. So we've won in terms of we are able to fix some of the leaks we wouldn't have fixed because of what transpired. And we lost some time because then we had the team concentrating on an emergency. So we will go back fully fledged into unaccounted for water and give it the attention it deserves. Currently, we are giving it attention, and we're like in some instances to discover along the way that there are other places we have to fix. But I do feel that post this disaster, we still need to focus on accounted for water because the fight is not yet over. We still have challenges, and as soon as we are done here, I think that's the next big challenge, is unaccounted for water. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just to add, yes, leaks also occur in the reticulation system of municipalities. That is entirely the responsibility of municipalities to fix. Umgeni Water's loss is in the region of what, 5%, 3%. So it's it's minimal. Right, are there any other questions? Yes. Okay.
Hi, Ketu from the Mercury. My question is on risk 3, the cost of that tender or that contract. How much is it going to cost to fix? And on the 850 million to fix the flood-related damage, was there any reprioritization of funds? Was there, and I think going back to Jason's question about were you ready and were there lessons learned, was this 850 million readily available? Where is it coming from, and what maybe was compromised in the budget to make sure that it's there? Thank you.
We'll take one more question.
Yes, it's Karinda from Newsroom Africa. I understand that the water rationing is implemented by eThekwini in terms of reticulation, but can Umgeni Water shed any light in terms of the hours stipulated? Because residents are a bit worried about that 3 p.m. to 6 a.m. water rationing. Just in terms of the bulk supply side, can you maybe explain how that's going to work and shed more light on the importance of this treatment works, one of the oldest and largest in the city? Then, going forward, do we need to further upgrade our infrastructure for bulk supply now that we have seen this? We are updating RES 3 once again, but what other work do we need to do? There was also some concerns by Tongaat residents asking if water can be supplied by the Caesar water treatment in Boliguza to Durban. This was done during a drought a few years ago, I believe, so there's just questions if that can be done again.
Thank you. Right, the first question was about funding flood damage infrastructure, right? Is that correct?
Okay, we can take. Okay, we can take one more set, and then I'm just, yeah. You can just take one more set. I'm just writing my responses.
Yes, sir.
This is the witness. This is just a question of clarity. Apologies if you really addressed this. In terms of the two pipes that were damaged, the pipes that convey water to Mega Dam, can you just maybe take us into the scope of work, how they're damaged, and what the contractors are going to be doing to replacing the pipes, just that sort of stuff from the engineering point of view.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, that's good. Okay, thank you so much. I'll start with the first one, which is from Petty. It's the cost for RES 3, estimated cost. The contract was awarded in November 2021, and we went through the process. The estimate is currently sitting at 51 million rand. What we don't have in the cost as yet is the cost of working possibly for more hours, night hours, the cost of fast-tracking the process. So we have, as Umgeni, contacted the team and we said to them, yes, we know you are working, you're all enthusiastic, can you move the time to much earlier? So for now, we're estimating 51 million. Whenever the cost changes, we will anticipate, but we anticipate that the change might happen due to maybe if we get additional floodlights and we are working at night 2 or 3 hours, that could be something that we might ask for because we want it to be ready sooner. We don't have the additional cost. We have not even approved the additional cost, but we just made a request as a board to say, we know it's going to be 6 months, but people are bleeding water. What would it take to make it lesser? So if it's reasonable, if it does make sense, we will approve it. If it doesn't make sense, we will then not approve it. But let's wait for it to come to us. But for now, on record, we are looking at 51 million. Now, the aqueduct 1 and 2, where is the money going to come from? There's a very good decision we made many years ago to insure our infrastructure. So then we went to the insurance, went knocking to say, remember clause 5.2, it was saying we are insured. So we have contacted the insurance, and the way it works is that then we must then fix and do a claim. We're not really sure how much, we need then to go through the whole process, and then we will make the figures available as we talk with our insurance. And the money that we are using is the money from the current budget. So for it to be refunded through insurance. So what the plan is, we will fix, and then as we fix, we submit a claim to insurance. They refund us. Whatever is not refunded by the insurance, we go knocking at the flood relief funds, because we believe that the work that we have planned for this financial year and the next financial year, actually our 5-year corporate plan, everything there is very urgent. So we're going to go knocking at the department, we're going to knock at Treasury and say our insurance has taken us this far, please come and assist, because we don't want to disrupt any further projects. So that's where it's coming from. And I would like to thank ourselves and the team for this insurance. When we did it, we thought it was an exaggeration, but guess what? Then it did happen. So we do have insurance. And on the rationing of water, unfortunately, although we meet with eThekwini, the actual plan of rationing is a plan of eThekwini. I would or maybe restrict myself to what the mayor has communicated, because we don't have any further information further than what the mayor has communicated. And then on areas of Caesar Water and Tongat, also I will restrict my responses to the responses from eThekwini, because what they have responded, what they have shared is what we have also seen in our meetings with eThekwini. So we have nothing further to add, but only to support eThekwini what they do. And on there's one on clarity on the scope of work, aqueduct 1 and 2. Now, aqueduct 1 and 2 is in the area.
And that's the latest update from KwaZulu-Natal, just in terms of the latest measures that have been put in place.